Hi, I'm Dave with LawnEq, and I'm going to talk to you about the BX decks. If you ever have problems taking your blades off, where you can put the wrench on the bolt and you can spin the bolt, but it won't loosen up, but your blade, you can spin it with your blade, or when you do take it off, that your cups are spun on like where it shows spinning, or you can tell that your spring washers are spun on your hex washer. Means when you're putting your blades on, that your hex washer is catching on the hex of the shaft and locking up the blade, or locking up the bolt where it won't tighten up the blade correctly to make it work right. We're going to show you what we can do, or you can do, to solve this problem and make it a better unit. First of all, we're going to clean up the hex part of the shaft. That's an important step. What you want to do is take a file, file off where the corners of your hex has been peened over from the washer. You want to get on the flat part of the hex and file that hex part, the flat of it is nice and flat, and try to keep it as straight as possible. And then go around to the next side. Once you get the sides flattened, just take your file and just kind of round that corner off to get that extra metal off the corners. But you want to try to keep your flats as square as possible. Do that all the way around each spindle. That's the first step. Next, we want to start on taking care of the hex washer. You want to get a small round file. We use a chainsaw file. It works real good and it cuts a real fine cut. The easiest way to do it, you want to put it in your washer in a vise. We basically want to make it look like a flank drive socket. The corners, we want to basically file the corner out a little bit, just enough to make it a little round corner. Go around the whole washer and get all the corners, because that's what really digs in the most, is the corners. And we want it to hit on the flanks of this here. Next, you can see that it's hard to see in the picture, but these are tapered. They're stamped out. What we want to do, we want to take the tightest side, and what we want to do is we just want to round that edge just a little bit, because that's the side that's going to go on first, so it'll slide up the shaft the best. Do this to all three washers. After you get all three washers done, where you got the corners rounded out and this tapered over nice and smooth, then we want to go to the bolts. What happens on the bolts, when they go on here, they'll want to catch, and the square corners here on the edges of the bolts will catch a little bit. And what we want to do, we just want to round them off just a fraction to kind of get that edge off there. Take your flat file again, and all we want to do is just barely the edge part, just kind of round them off to get so it has a little bit of ramp to them. Go ahead and do this to all three bolts. After you got your shaft done, your hex washer's ready, and your bolts ready, you want to look at the other two remaining parts. First of all, your washers. These are beveled washers. They got a cup in them. This acts as your clutch mechanism in case you hit something or whatever. Instead of having that sudden jolt on your belt, it'll allow the blade to slip just a little bit. If they have spun, they've normally been hot, and they'll lose some of that cup. It's very important to have that. So if you're not sure, compare them to some of the other ones, and always get new if they're bad. Same way with the cup. This one's spun. I don't know if you can see it very well. It's worn out. These are a certain thickness. That's all built in the design of the spindle. So if you got a worn cup, make sure you get a new cup. Also, if you're using your old cups, clean everything out, make sure all the debris and grease is out of it. In the same way at the bottom of your spindle, make sure all the debris and grease is off of that so it sets up tight. Okay, now we're going to start assembling it. Put your bolt down with the threaded up. Take your washer, the one we worked on. We want to take the skinny side or the smaller diameter side, and we want that up. So we're going to put that on your washer or your bolt. Take your washers, put them on. Take some lubricant. What we want to do, we want to spray down into the bolt. So when we put this on, there's some lubricant between the bolt head and the washer so it's able to slide easily. And then also spray a little bit up into your threads on your spindle so you won't have any problems with that. Take your cup, set it up on your spindle, make sure it sets down tight. Put your blade on. Take your washer and bolt assembly, thread it up there. What I like to do is hold the hex washer up against there where it's in place and screw my bolt up to it, and then kind of counterclockwise my hex washer so when it starts tightening up it can go and find its center better that way. Once everything's finger tight, hold your blade, take your wrench. You should never need an impact to tighten these up. Wrench or a socket does with a ratchet works fine, and just slowly tighten them up and tighten them down snug. That should be the way it should work. If you find out if you're tightening them and your blade's spinning, you still have something wrong here, you need to take it apart and clean it up a little bit more or replace parts as needed. That's the way you do it. Thank you. And remember, come and see us at LawnEq.com.